Hello and welcome to this edition of Pop and Scott. Almost kind of on a fence if we were going to do it this week. A lot of personal stuff going on, but it's almost just a week of speculation. All I'm getting is emails of who might do what, or text messages, or some movement, but nothing too crazy other than the big signing. Now the Dodgers have signed two more players.
Because nobody else apparently wants to. If the Dodgers want to sign them, fine. But the other teams don't want to pay anybody, I guess.
My thing is, like, I don't know if the other teams are willing to pay and go. I haven't seen how these are structured. I know to get the Yamamoto deal, they had to trade international space.
Yes,
to
the Red Sox. They traded a player to the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm going to have surgery, and I'm just if I'm moving around a little bit, it's because I'm sore. But they traded a player to the Phillies so they could get international space,
right?
So they could sign Roki Sasaki.
Yeah,
because.
Or not, yeah, Rosaki.
He was the big one. They said a few days ago it was down to two teams. I figured it was San Diego and the Dodgers because San Diego was in the lead for a while, they thought. But it turned out it was between the Dodgers and Toronto.
Right. Yeah.
And if Toronto wants to sign anybody, they won't go. I mean, But anyway, and then today they signed Tanner Scott.
Right.
4 years, $72 million. He's an all-star closer.
Yeah,
I'd heard the Mets were trying to get him.
They were. Well, I've heard everybody. If you have money and you're willing to spend it, it's the speculation world. That's why I'm like, you can't listen to anything until after it happens.
Yeah,
it's like it's so crazy. I mean, I follow several Mets channels and New York channels. And I get speculations after speculations after speculations. And they would have a 200-man roster at this point if all these speculations went through. It's almost like these people want to create fantasy teams. And some of the teams, just don't have the money to do it. So they're automatically out. And
right. That's a lot of teams. That's half the league.
Right. So,
And Ryan Matus, who passed away last week, and they wouldn't say what happened. I had heard it was cancer, but it wasn't. He'd been off of drugs for a while, and he went back on them, and he OD'd. That's what happened. His mother found him.
And I don't want to speculate and put a good if it could be a good spin, but it's probably related to a pain issue he's probably once had. Like
it could be, very well be.
It'd be nice to know more about that. You don't want to think bad of somebody because you never heard of him doing anything.
No, I don't think bad of anybody that dies from drug overdose because somehow they got hooked. And I used to be a smoker. I know how hard it was for me to quit smoking. I know how hard it was.
Well, I have addictions to food and obviously collecting things. So
yeah. You want to see. I was just in November, my A1C went up, so now I'm pre-diabetic, and they told me to get off sugar. Well, I'm like any male, I love sugar. And when she told me no more Oreos and Little Debbie's, I was in the corner crying. But I mean, I've gotten used to it, but it's not fun.
Right. Yeah. So, you're a lot stronger than I am. I got to have at least a cookie every now and then.
Well, if I go back and I'm still having a problem, I'm going to ask her if she can give me some medication so I can go home and eat some Oreos. But
yeah, so one good thing, I was down went up to see Dad Friday and Saturday. Like I said, we had some family things.
Yeah,
and
his stepmom was in the hospital with pneumonia, and we brought her. He was good enough to come up here and sit in the hospital for hours yesterday while they had a minor fiasco, and we got home yesterday evening. So
it's all good. Got her set
up. She's doing a lot better today.
Yeah, I thought everybody was good that was helping her when I was there. So
Yeah, yeah.
And they were willing to go an extra mile to make sure y'all understood what was going on. So I was appreciative of that, and let them know I was appreciative of that. But anyway, the one good thing that we did see, I thought, was the Cubs' new alternate uniform. I kind of liked that.
Yeah, that was
uniform.
Nice.
It was almost like a old school uniform.
Yeah, it was almost like it was back from.
Yeah, if they would have had
the 20s or 30s without it being just gray.
If they would have had the Cub coming out to sea,
yeah,
instead of saying Cub, didn't it say Cubs on it?
It had a red C and it's UBS.
Yeah, so
big red C and UBS, and the number was over here.
Right, and the colors of their
light blue
of the city flag,
right?
Red, light blue, and white.
Right. They look good.
Yeah, it was a very nice, and we with Nico Horner on MLB talking, and he was wearing it for fan weekend there. So I like that, and he was talking about his new team, which the Cubs. That division is going to be fun to watch. I think the Central. You said it. The Central might be the most competitive.
The Central and the American League and the National League both are probably going to be the most competitive in their respective leagues.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm not saying the best.
Right.
I'm not saying the best, but they are going to be very competitive. And that, to me, if it's competitive, that makes it the best to me.
The only team that really hasn't made any strides forward is maybe the White Sox, and the Twins haven't.
Well, see, the White Sox, I think the Twins are going to take a step back this year. Mm-hmm. I'm just speculating. But the Tigers, Kansas City, and Cleveland, those three teams are really going to be very good again.
Yeah,
and if Minnesota stays competitive, that means only the lowly White Sox are out of that one. Then you go to the Central and the National League. You got the Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers. And I don't know how the Brewers do it. They lose players every year, and they're still fighting for
coaches. And
we don't know whether the Cardinals will be improved or not. But and Pittsburgh is probably going to be improved.
Yeah, I think this year the Cardinals last year took that beating. Couldn't really move players. They're trying to move players. I think they're trying to get younger. And this might be a step back.
Well, don't be surprised if Cincinnati, with Francona as their manager, gets better.
They got a lot of young talent. They might not have enough pitching, but they got some pitching, and they got a lot of young talent. And they're built for speed.
Yeah, I think the American League Central will probably be the most competitive of all the divisions, although the West might be pretty competitive too. Because out of all the teams that have made moves, the Sacramento A's, they're trying to be competitive.
Yeah, I've been impressed. They've actually made moves. Like Texas has made some moves, or at least to consolidate their team. It really hurts. It's put Texas back when DeGrom and Scherzer couldn't pitch.
Right. Yeah.
That was taking up two spots and
then they signed Montgomery, and he couldn't do anything.
Right. Well, no, Montgomery was the guy that got him to the World Series. He's the winner of the World MVP. The Diamondbacks signed.
That's Diamondbacks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I'm thinking about the 21-year-old outfielder that got injured last year. That hurt.
Yeah, Evan Carter.
Yeah, Evan Carter.
So. And he'll probably be my preseason pick for comeback player of the year. And then, man, the Cubs, we're back. I want to go back to the National League Central. The Cubs have really added some key parts. I kind of wait, and that opening series, it sucks it's in Tokyo, and we might have to be up at 4 a.m. to watch it. But that's going to be a great series, and it just sucks it's in Tokyo. Tokyo's
the 18th and 19th of March, the Cubs and the Dodgers will play in Tokyo, 2 games.
Yeah, so you're going to probably see two Japanese pitchers face each other the first day, and then another Japanese pitcher the second day. MLB couldn't have planned this. They got to be tickled pink. We got Shohei, I mean, it's.
I can't imagine what the Asian television market is what kind of ratings they're gonna have.
Well, people stay up, the bars stay open to watch the games last year for the Dodgers, and.
Well, I'm talking about the 2 games in Tokyo.
Right. And I mean, Dodgers are going to sell so much merch this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. And
yeah, we talked about a year ago Christmas. We did a show a year ago Christmas when you were at home, and not this Christmas, but a year ago, 23. And I made the comment on that show: don't if you're going to Japan, don't think you're going to buy a jersey because they'll be all taken.
Yeah.
Of course, I think. The biggest baseball news this week was Mr. Baseball Bob Uecker passing away.
Yes.
On Tuesday. He was, for some guy who had almost no talent. He was good enough to be in the major leagues, but he didn't have a lot of talent. But the talent he did have, he used for his benefit.
Right.
I must be in the front row.
He had a great television show.
Mr. Belvedere.
Yeah, he had a great commercials, and then he was the voice of the Brewers
for years.
So
forever. And he really got started by becoming friends with Johnny Carson.
Right.
And Johnny Carson brought him on his show, and he was such a hit. He kept bringing him back.
Yeah, he could have probably been a very good comedian.
But he was. Well, he was good.
And he was also he was the Cleveland Indians announcer in Major League movies.
Yeah, when they did Major League, just outside. They told him when he sat down there, we're not giving you a script. You say what you want to say.
Right.
And that first pitch was way out there, and he said, just a bit outside.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that line now.
Yeah.
He was a character. He was. I don't know anybody that didn't like him. They said he was such a nice person, and he's going to be missed. I'm old enough to remember when he was young, when he was still playing, saying stupid stuff. He
was always a backup catcher, but in my world, he's probably the biggest backup catcher that people collect. I mean, his stuff, in my card world, people.
Well, I saw him being interviewed once, and it was after he caught a game that Gaylord Perry was pitching, the knuckleball. I think it was a knuckleballer was pitching.
Yeah.
And they asked him, they said, how difficult was catching the ball? He said it was very hard. He said, well, how'd you do it? He said, I just waited till it stopped rolling and picked it up.
I was going to say that was the one when he said, I gave you the backstop and get it.
Yeah. He said he saw the same families behind the backstop more than he did the infield because he was facing them more.
Yeah. Uecker was definitely a one of a kind, and baseball is going to be missing him. And Milwaukee's going
to lose people like him and Vin Scully, and
right.
It's they are some of the cornerstone of broadcasting.
And
remember, I'm old enough. When I was a kid, I used to listen to people like Al Helfer and Red Barber and the guy in New York. I can't remember his name. But anyway, there was some great announcers when I was a kid, because the games were on radio before we got TV, right. And even after we got to TV, they still had radio games because they had the game of the day, because they had so many day games. They hadn't made everything a night game yet.
Yeah. Well, even when I was young, if you wanted to know day to day, you had to listen to it to the radio.
Right.
Before the superstation.
But he was one of a kind, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that's I'm glad you brought that up. So it did, for some reason, slip my mind, but that was, it took me a minute when I read it, because I was like, really? Because it was like on this when the first one I got was a weird post on my phone, and then it started being posted, and that was I'm a little too young to know the playing days. Well, I'm way too young, but the Uecker, the character, I know very well, so I grew up with that. And
he at one point in his career, he was the bullpen catcher and backup catcher and bullpen catcher for the Phillies.
Right.
Well, the Phillies bullpen had a gate where you could go out and go on the street. So in the middle innings, when he didn't think anybody was be warming up, he'd go out the gate and walk around the corner to a bar and get a beer, and then come back. And they caught him at it one time, so they locked the gate, so he couldn't get out.
Yeah, Euchre. Yeah, you great guy, and sorely missed. But I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks, Dad. And other stuff in baseball this week is just, again, a lot of speculation. It's still the Pete Rose.
Oh, here's another thing.
Pete Rose turning down.
The Mets did offer a 3-year, $72 million contract to Pete, and he turned it down. He and his agent turned it down.
Yeah, because
so now the rumors are he's not coming back.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember Martin Maldonado, the catcher, but he signed a 1-year deal with the Padres to be a backup catcher.
Well, and also the other news was Bregman turning down the contract
in Boston.
They
offered him 3 or 4 years, and he came back with an offer. He wanted 8 or something stupid. And they said, forget it.
Yeah, because Pete really wants that 90-some million and 30 million a year. I don't know. In there, I've heard the Padres this week get tossed around. I've heard the Giants. I've heard, multitude. I've heard, the Mets Toronto trying to trade Vladdy to the Mets, but they're off. They want a bat. They want 3 or 4 top prospects, which the Mets have. I mean, but you sacrifice your future for.
You remember Hanley Ramirez?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Well, his 17-year-old son signed a contract with the Texas Rangers on the international free agent class. 17 years old. I've got the
Mets
top
signed a 17-year-old this week too.
Last year, I have the top 15, a list of the top 15 of the signees for the international thing. The other thing I had here was, the young Japanese pitcher has decided to bypass Japanese baseball and come right to the United States.
They said that's going to be more and more of a deal because they want the payout and they want the American notoriety.
His name is Shifaro Mori. He's 18 years old, and he's decided to bypass Japanese ball. 18 years old, they say he throws 93 plus. So anyway, so he's going to do that. I told you about Pete turning down to $70 million, and the Dodgers improved their starting rotation, and then they improved their bullpen. So I don't know what the other teams are wanting to do. There's plenty of teams that talk about signing these guys, and then the Dodgers sign them. I don't. They must be offering more money. That's all I can think. Of course, the number one signee on the international side was Roki Sasaki, Japan, for the Dodgers. Joshua De Jesus Gonzalez, a shortstop, was number 2. He signed with the Giants, $3 million. Elian Pena, shortstop from the Dominican Republic, signed with the Mets for $5 million. He's supposed to be very good with bat. We assume if he's good with the bat, he must be halfway decent with the glove.
That's all I heard was he was the best offensive shortstop in the.
In the offensive shorts, the way they said it when we were watching it, they said he's an offensive shortstop. I'm trying to think. Wait a minute. So that means you got another shortstop playing defense, and then when you come up to bat, he's going to hit because he's the offensive shortstop.
Please do not bring that up because of what's his face, the commissioner here, said that might. You got the golden defenseman or something. Bullcrap.
You had a golden urinal. Anyway. Chris Rodriguez, outfielder from the Dominican Republic, signed with the Tigers for $3 million. Andrew Salas, the shortstop outfielder from the United States and Venezuela. He has dual citizenship, signed for $3.7 million with the Marlins. Jorge Bautista, of outfielder from Venezuela, signed for $2 million with the Mariners. Kevin Alvarez, outfielder, Cuba, Astros, $2 million. Dorian Soto, shortstop from the Dominican Republic for the Red Sox, $1.4 million. Mikel Corriette, outfielder, Dominican Republic for the Rays for $1.6 million. Juan Cabada, shortstop, Dominican Republic from the Cubs, $1.5 million. Now, there's two names in here. They don't have a team associated with them. Manny Cedeno, a shortstop from the Dominican Republic, and Aiden Johnson from the Bahamas, shortstop.
So they're probably in the top 15,
but they haven't signed.
Yeah,
they haven't signed for the team.
Right, they probably want too much. Or
Wilfrey De La Cruz, a shortstop, third baseman from the Dominican Republic, signed with the Cubs for $2.3 million. Brian Cortesea, shortstop from Venezuela, signed with the Nationals for $1.9 million. And Diego Tornes, an outfielder for the Cubs, signed with the Braves for $2.4 million. And that's the top 15. That's all.
You could probably take the 14, add their money up, won't even add to the first guy. That's the funny part. But anyway, yeah, that's, it's always interesting for that.
I read them off last year, and everybody forgot it 5 minutes after the show was over, but that's fine.
Some of my friends are calling for an international draft because it just the teams with the most money gets players, and it is what it is. It's a lot of those players don't pan out. We'll see with this Japanese guy.
Well, see, that's the one thing with baseball. With football and basketball, you pretty much know whether a person's going to be able to play in the National Football League or the NBA. You can pretty much look at his talent and say, I think this guy's going to make it. Now, he might not be as good as you think he's going to be, but he's going to make the team. Baseball, you don't know. You just don't. When you draft these guys, unless it's a Paul Schemes.
Well, you're looking for a lot of upside. And that's Paul Schemes went through college. A lot of these, you see more and more college players being drafted now. We heard Nico Horner, he went through college. A lot of these guys are college ball players now for America. And that way they get to a lot of those guys only spend a year and a half. If it takes them more than 2 years to get to the majors,
they got a problem.
There's something going on. Like JJ Bleday, but actually JJ Bleday.
Either they're not as good as they're not as good as publicized, or there's somebody ahead of them holding them back.
Right, log jam. So yeah, that's it's interesting. Of course, we always talk about shortstops, especially in the National League. You're going to get shortstops and catchers, or shortstops that become catchers. Shortstops become center fielders, or second.
Shortstops become pitchers.
They're getting the athlete with a lot of upside. You see raw talent, and that's what they're going with. So that's interesting, to say the least, to watch those types of things in this winter, because now it's a tough road to get to that MLB. When I heard the last year the guys on MLB radio say, the GMs that have their show, that they only highlight maybe 8 to 12 players in their whole farm system to make the majors.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here and they got like 5 teams. I'm like, wow. You got 150.
And that's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's like, good grief. The reality.
Because unlike football, there's a little more longevity in baseball.
Right. Yeah.
Some people play for 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
Or like your Alex Ovechkin, he's been playing for about 63.
Right. Hockey seems to be the same way. Yager is probably still playing for the team he owns in Czechoslovakia.
Well, I just to bring that up, I watched the last 2 games they played. They won again last night to beat Pittsburgh 4-1. And I watching them play, they're very good. They're very young, but they're very good. And that coach has them playing as a team. And you notice I'm wearing this.
Yeah, I was going to say we got
It's actually the Washington football team. This isn't even a Commander's hat. This is from the Washington football team. But to watch them last night beat Detroit, that was just mind-boggling.
Detroit's going to Detroit.
Well, the other thing is Detroit had about 36 people on IR on defense.
Right.
And they ran into the wrong quarterback to have 36 people on IR.
And that offense has weapons. So he's not just quarterback.
Detroit was going up. Both teams were going up and down the field, but Detroit couldn't keep up.
Right.
So anyway, I'll get back to baseball.
I was going to ask you, got anything else to add?
Well, the only other thing is that I think on the 11th and 12th is when the Cubs and the Dodgers start spring training because they got to play a week early. So that'll be not technically, but that's the first part of spring training. I think the rest of it starts.
Well, that's the first spring training games.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, because that's right, because they come in February.
Yeah, because 16th and 17th, I think, was the the minor league games.
Yeah,
where they highlight all the minor league players. So
I watched some of those games last year.
Yeah,
spring breakout, or what do you call it?
Yeah, spotlight. Yeah, so that's pretty cool that they're doing that. So you get to see some talent that might even be on the field, this year for the big teams. So.
And I do have a Yogiism this week. Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle, they are of course on the Yankees team in 1961, and they were both hitting home runs left and right. Mantle wound up with 54, and of course Maris set the record of 61. He broke Ruth's record. Well, one night they hit back-to-back home runs, and they'd done it before in the season, and Yogi was in the dugout, and he said, well, it's deja vu all over again.
There you go.
They kidded him. Everybody kidded him about it. He said, well, it makes sense to me.
That's right.
So anyway, I just thought I'd add that. Now, for everybody out there, hopefully we'll do a show next week. I see a surgeon Thursday morning, and then I'll find out what's going on, and hopefully we'll do a show next week. But if not, I might have to be off a week or two.
Yeah, and I'll be up there, so you might see a different background if I'm up there.
Yeah, I mean, if you're up here, and if I can get in here and get in a chair, we might do it together. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
so with that being said,
we'll just wait this week and find out, and then if I do the show next week, I'll just have a list of the players the Dodgers signed.
Right. That's it. It's the Dodger signing show. So please share, tell a friend. Thanks for the new subscribers. I really appreciate it. Leave a comment for the new ones that watch me for my other content. This is just we talk baseball. This is my dad, and we both grew up loving the game. So
yeah, we grew up loving. I grew up loving baseball. You grew up loving baseball because I grew up loving baseball. And your grandfather, my dad, he was a baseball guy, and he's talked to you all the time about baseball. So, it's in your blood.
So did your grandma, your mom.
Yeah. My mom was a big White Sox fan. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I just, this show, whether we get 25 people watch it or not, it's just fun.
Yeah.
Mainly because I'm doing it with my son, but it's fun. And I just like talking about it.
And we can watch it at any time for memories. So, after that, we'll see you next time. See ya.